Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. How do you like an unelected official policing you? And not only unelected, because the people in the police force, they are unelected, they are appointed, but they compete for the position. How do you like an entity, like let's say Germany as a country, with its institutions, as idiotic as they are, some of them, policing Europe? Do you like that? I mean, did you vote for that? Were you asked as a free human being that you are told repeatedly that you are better than everybody else on this planet, right? So let me show you how Germany will target internal European Union enemies. Under what kind of authority, I would like to know. Well, it doesn't matter. I got the money, I got the power. That means I do whatever I want. Why? Because that's the way the world really is. So let's look at this article coming from Russia Today. From 1st of April 2025, Germany to target, and I'm quoting, internal EU enemies, Politico, internal EU enemies, not Germany as Germany, but within the European Union. All right, so let's read the article and then we can talk about it. All right, so Germany to target internal EU enemies. The thinly veiled threat reportedly refers to Hungary, which has blocked several of Brussels' foreign policy decisions. Remember, this is a conservative, supposedly. He's not a conservative, my friends. He is a systems buddy. He is one of them, not one of us. The incoming German government plans to play a larger role in the European Union decision-making, including by punishing nations that dissent against the bloc's foreign policy, Politico has reported. So it's not Russia Today, it's Politico. According to the outlet, a draft coalition agreement targets Hungary, which has defied European Union decisions on issues such as the Ukraine conflict and sanctions against Russia. Well, I thought that the European Union has its own structures, and if you don't allow dissent, you are a tyrannical institution or organization or union. Dissent is allowed because dissent brings up discussions, debates, and using evidence and interest, you can figure out which way you go. But you have to consider each entity's opinions, desires, interests, but use evidence. In this case, Hungary has its own interest, own direction, and because it's dared, under the rules and regulations of the European Union, to dissent from the narrative, now we have to punish them. Now, how does that sound to you? Does it sound like free world that they self-proclaim themselves or self-proclaim? All right, Germany is set to have a new coalition government formed by the Christian Democratic Union, Christian Social Union, and the Social Democrats SP. Okay, these guys right here, when you hear social, that means, for me at least, on the left, big time. And you got a Christian, supposedly these are, how do you call them, conservative. Likely led by Friedrich Merz of the CDU. The parties are currently finalizing agreements on key political areas, including migration, climate. I already developed an allergy when I hear climate, okay, just so you know, and EU relations. Merz is reportedly aiming to form the new government before Easter on April 20th. What's going on with everybody on April 20th? I mean, happy birthday, but you know what I mean? Why these guys want to have a ceasefire by April 20th? The Ukrainians and the Russians. These guys formed the government on Easter, April 20th. Because it's Easter, they determined that's the moment. For me, it's something else, but let's move on. One of the documents reviewed by Politico outlines Berlin's plan for more assertive EU strategy. Germany's, right? It proposes using the Weimar Triangle. Again, when I hear Weimar, I have an allergy already. Why? Because we know who was in charge of that period of time, and they were very happy about it. A trilateral alliance of Germany, France, and Poland. Oh, Poland was accepted at the table of the so-called important countries in Europe. That's great, but they don't like the Germans, so what are they going to do? It's okay, they're going to wait for the right time to stab them in the neck from behind, which currently holds the EU's rotating presidency to influence the bloc's direction and strengthen Germany's use of its voting rights. The draft also states that Berlin plans to defend the EU against internal and external enemies by calling for punitive action against member states that allegedly violate principles such as the rule of law. Aren't you for that? Yeah, but how come your rule of law is, or your laws are screwed up? Which is, if you do not deny this historical event, deny meaning you have some questions in Germany regarding only one event in the whole history, you may go to prison for 5 years or 6. I think it's 5 years. So how come? And they talk about the rule of law. How about freedom of speech? And they call it denying, because you're not supposed to question the, how should I put it, how big or how small that might be. You're supposed to parrot the exact thing. Like right now, I say, okay, when did Germany invade Poland? Clearly, right? 1st of September 1939. Now, if I go to Germany and say, no, that's not true. Germany invaded Poland in, I don't know, the 3rd of August 1936. Will I be incarcerated for 5 years for that? Denying that actually they really did it on, when they said they did. September 1st, 1939. They would not bother. Why? Go ahead, man, do it. We all know, why should we bother? But if you say, well, maybe I have a question regarding, 6 million. Let's say I think it was 8 million. I make it even bigger. Even for that, it's called denying. Because it was exactly 6 million. It was not 6,000,001 or 5,999,999. No, it was exactly. So that's called denying. Why only that event? Don't give me the guilt here, okay? The Germans are baboons if they allow themselves to be shamed. All right, let's go. And they shame themselves and be ashamed of something they didn't do. And remember, collective punishment doesn't work in our Greco-Roman law, but it works in a different kind of law, the ones that you cannot deny. All right, let's go back here. Remember, proposed penalties include withholding EU funds. Okay, what does that mean? Blackmail. Funds and suspending voting rights. Oh my God, suspending voting rights. Did you know that? So imagine let's say Hungary as an individual, and he's got his suspended voting rights because why? He has a misdemeanor. I know some people with felonies cannot vote. Is that okay? Well, think about it. And who decides that? Germany. And why Germany? Because it can. We will take even more consistent actions against violations. The document states, existing protective instruments from infringement proceedings and the withholding of EU funds to the suspension of membership rights, such as voting rights in the Council of EU, must be applied much more consistently than before. Now here, the coalition has also proposed the creation of a comprehensive sanction instrument. When I hear comprehensive, is like, what? But why comprehensive gun reform? Okay? To rein in perceived dissenters, including replacing the EU foreign policy unanimity requirement with majority voting to prevent countries from blocking decisions as sanctions. The consensus principle is the European Council must not become a brake on decision making. That is. So what happens? You have the veto power, kind of. You have to find consensus if you want to make a decision as the European Union. That is, all the countries must be in order to agree, in unanimity that yes, we agree. So that's a country who doesn't want to do that, then everything stalls. The problem is this has been in place, I think, since the creation of this garbage European Union. Now, because of Hungary, they try to change this and make it a majority. The guy who said this was Mario Draghi, if I remember correctly. Mario Draghi, he was Italian, I think he was prime minister or something. And he was not only that, over there, he was in the European Union as well. I can remember his position. But I think he said that on his way out. I think he was in 2022 or something like this. He said, you know what? I think it was Mario Draghi. He said, it doesn't really matter. He said, well, we have to get rid of the consensus, the unanimity. We're going to get a majority. Why? Because you can bribe the majority, but it's harder to bribe and create a unanimity. Therefore, it lowers your voting power, your importance. Why? Imagine you're Hungary, I don't know, 9 million people, or how much is Hungary nowadays? 9 million people says, no, I don't want this. Or let's say Estonia, even worse. Why? It has, I don't know, how much, 1 million people or something. Estonia, 1.2 or something. Okay. Let's say Estonia says, you know what, I don't like the policy regarding, I don't know, attacking the United States of America. So 1 million people, which is half of them are adults, right? So 500,000, decide on all 450 million people, I think the European Union is, or something, for 470 million. So half of million of people decide, no, we're not going to do this. So they say, no, those 500,000 cannot have this power. We're going to make it differently. We're going to make majority rules. But why? To make it easier for those guys to maneuver dissent. That's the whole purpose. So this is the Germany. Germany wants to fight internal enemies. I think the German government's internal enemies are its own people at times. Why? They indoctrinate the Germans with self-hatred, blaming themselves for something they didn't do. Look at their history and their, values, and not values, history and personalities as being garbage, like for instance Richard Wagner, or let's say Friedrich Nietzsche, or others as being the bad dudes because they're told so. They don't have balls. They lost their balls in 1945. And the balls since then are rolling down the hill somewhere. Can you hear them rolling down? Yeah, I could. Since then, they've been rolling down. Are they going to be able to catch them and reattach them or not? It's up to them, my friends. But Germany is an occupied country. And the problem is you have a government and a mass media that baboons the citizens. And some citizens are waking up, like the Alternative for Deutschland. But it's okay. The government will protect the rest of the population against the Alternative of Deutschland by banning Alternative for Deutschland. They first decreed that Alternative for Deutschland is an extremist organization or party, and I think it was banned in 3 areas in Germany where you can't vote for Alternative for Deutschland. Sorry, but hey, rule of law and freedom and democracy, and the Germans are part of the free world. No, my friends, we are fat, prisoners in a cage. The cage is the so-called free world. If you want to break out of the cage, you're put in this, put in that, and we have 5 years for you in prison. But you're fatter because we allow the food you're eating to be ingested without even going and questioning these guys. What the hell are you putting in the food? What's in there? Oh, just food, just some hormones, just some, things like this, Don't worry. Genetically modified, that's fine. What is the reaction? I don't know, but it's no coincidence, no? It's a coincidence that, you have autism, United States of America, an explosion, people get fat eating regularly, the same kind of food. The nutrition of the food is worse than it was 40 years ago. Go and buy a banana. The banana has potassium, right? Potassium. If you have potassium, a banana for, let's say, 40 years or 50 years ago has this amount of nutrition of potassium. Right now it has 1/3. You need to eat 3 bananas in order to fulfill the potassium necessity that was given, or nutrients given to you by a banana 40 or 50 years ago or something like that. And the apple the same way. Why is that? Well, you modify the shit over and over and over. You know, what do you expect? So yes, Germany is gonna be the, how's that, the fox in charge of the chicken coop. Is that what it is? Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.